I haven't talked to my mom in 5 years. I thought it was her fault, but now I feel it might be mine. When I was growing up, my mom and dad would argue all the time. They would scream, get the cops called on them, throw dishes and break things up until my dad committed adultery and they divorced. Granted, my mom wasn't an angel either. She suffered from a lot of mental disorders and would constantly present me and my sister with traumatic memories I hold to this day. Since this is anonymous, I will elaborate. During an argument with my father, she locked herself in the closet where all of our guns were kept and tried to off herself. Luckily, my father kicked the wooden door down with his bare foot and stopped her. His foot was so cut up from the door he had to get stitches and couldn't walk on it for a few months. All of this unfolded while I stood in the hallway and watched. She would spiral some days and curl into a ball, screaming to God that he should take her off this planet. She would grab me and my sister and dig her nails into our arms until we bled when we did not listen. She convinced us that my father was the devil and wanted to kill all of us, so we all had to sleep in the same room with the door locked and the outside checked before the blinds being shut. During this time, I had to sleep on a mattress on the floor. Some days she would load me up into her van and stalk my father with her. Sometimes she would have me go up to the windows for her to see what was going on inside the building he was in. I broke my arm when I was 13 and had to wait an entire week before going to the hospital because I had to wait until it was my father's time for custody, as it was not her problem to deal with. These are just a few stories off of the top of my head. At one point I had had enough of it and felt I was her caretaker more than her son, so I walked out of her house and never looked back. I convinced my sister to do the same. As I have grown older and gone longer without seeing or talking to her, I have felt overwhelmed with the guilt of no longer seeing her. I picture her living alone in the small house we used to share, once as a big family and now, all alone. No one to help her when she's spiraling, nobody to console her tears. It's upsetting. I've tried to communicate to her and plan things out with her, but she doesn't respect boundaries. She has showed up to my job unannounced, she has spoken to my sister's pastor/boss, she works at the church, and she has bad-mouthed me to teachers I used to have in school. It's things like that that remind me I need to keep my distance. Recently, I've grown really fond of Legos again, and I think it's because I want to rekindle feelings from my childhood again that were good to me. As I see more old Lego sets on Instagram or YouTube, I start to realize how many great sets I had, and who got them for me. I had a trampoline in my backyard and a play set to go along with it. I went on vacations and trips with my mom I'll never be able to go on again. She gave my sister the family minivan as her first car. One time I had set out to acquire every toy in the McDonald's Indiana Jones collection, so my mom literally drove to every McDonald's in the area to help me get them. I had a really great childhood thanks to my mom, but I had a really traumatic childhood thanks to my mom. It makes me feel as though I was being an entitled teenager, and that's just how it is with parents sometimes. They are just as tough to manage as the child sometimes. So now I feel as though I stripped a struggling mother of her son and her daughter and left her with nothing. I want to see her again, but I fear she has not changed and might be worse than I remember, but there is also the possibility she's okay now. I feel so guilty now, and if she were to die today, I would feel so terrible. I don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. And I don't know if I ever really did the right thing either.